To create a final mix, we have to take all these individual tracks and submixes, put them together to form one stereo or two-channel mix. One track for the left side and one track for the right side. Because that's how we hear, right? We have two ears. I'm wearing basically a two-track headphones, stereo headphones, but they have two individual speakers that receive data separately one from another. Okay? So when we create a mix of a piece of music, that's exactly what we're doing. We're taking all of these tracks and we are summing them together in some way to finally come up with two tracks that we can assign one to the left ear and one to the right ear. Mixing or a mix is the process of summing all the tracks together to create a two-channel or stereo mix. That's what a mix is. Now, as we do this, we're doing a number of different things. We are balancing the tracks. In other words, maybe the snare drum is too loud, so we need to turn it down. Maybe there's a guitar solo in one place, so we need to turn it up. That is the process of balancing all of these tracks. Okay, so that's one part of mixing. Another part might be EQing or in some way adding some type of insert on each track. Now, when may we need to do that? Let's say we have multiple guitar parts. A couple of guitar parts are kind of high up in the register, high register. Well, we may want to EQ and get rid of some of the low frequencies in those guitar parts so that it makes room for other things that do have low frequency. Okay, so we're kind of cleaning out certain parts of individual channels to make room for the other channels. Okay, it doesn't make a lot of sense to have a bass part with a lot of high frequencies in it. If you've got guitars and pianos and other things, you may want to leave those high frequency spaces for instruments that have those frequencies that are more predominant. Okay, the last thing, well, there's a number of different things you may want to do in your mix, but you are maybe going to add some type of effects. So maybe some delays, maybe some reverbs, maybe some pitch altering plugins, that type of thing, to add some dimension to your piece of music. Okay, these are all things that are part of a mix. If you think of a mix in terms of making something for dinner, like a recipe, okay, there is no one recipe that's the perfect recipe for a chocolate cake. Okay, my mom's chocolate cake is great. Your mom's chocolate cake is great. They're different mixes, different recipes, but how they taste is really a subjective thing. It's the same with mixes. Mixes are really subjective. One person may listen to a mix and go, I really like that mix. I love what they did to the guitars or to the vocal. Another person may say, I really don't like what they did to the guitar or the vocals. So it may be the exact opposite from person to person. So mixes are completely subjective. Let's go back now and look at what we've got happening here. Let's listen to this whole mix. Okay, first thing we noticed is we've got a guitar starting and it's on the left side. You can see I've used a send right here and I'm sending it over to something called Guitar Room. Where's Guitar Room? There it is right there. So I'm sending part of the guitar over to that reverb. Makes it sound like it's in a hall. Listen. Okay, so I'm adding that hall sound to the guitar. If I turn that off, so it adds kind of a nice space. So I'm sending, using a send, sending some guitar over to the room. Okay, now I've got a drum loop that comes in, and a second guitar that's panned to the other side to add some nice stereo dimension left and right. Here's a melody guitar. You can see I'm using a lot of different plugins or inserts to affect that guitar sound. Okay, here, this guitar I'm using a delay insert. You can hear it. Ding, 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 ding. Okay, so gives you a good idea of the elements that can be used to create a mix. Remember, a mix is subjective and it uses a variety of elements. Balancing and maybe some EQ to carve space for each of the tracks, maybe some effects, that type of thing, to enhance each of the audio tracks. Okay, so now let's talk about creating this final mix. To create this final mix, I've taken all of the audio and in some way routed it either to a submix or routed it directly to the final mix tracks. Let me show you how I've done that. Let's start over here on the far left-hand side. You can see I've taken all the drums and I've output all of the drums, sent them all to the drum bus. And then the drum bus is sent to a bus called the master bus. Okay? You'll notice that this drum loop, the bass, and a couple of guitars are all assigned direct to the master. Same with this guitar reverb, the lead guitars, and all of the different reverbs that I used on this piece are all going to the master track. They're all being sent out to the master. Now, if we look at the master track, you can see it's set to receive for its input everything that's on the master bus. So that is how I've routed everything from either a submix or an individual channel to the master bus. If I play this and I mute the master bus, everything goes away because everything is being routed in one way or another to be on that master bus. If I scroll forward, you can see this stuff is still playing, but it's all being routed down to finally 2 channels, and that is our master bus. Now all we have to do is record the outputs of this master bus, and we have our stereo mix that we can play on our CD player or in our car or on our MP3 player. And you can see it's very easy to adjust things in your mix. You decide, you go, oh, the drums are too loud. Pull the drums down. Or we need more of that lead guitar, we can raise it. Okay, so that is the basic concept behind mixing, is taking individual tracks and or submixes and through the process of busing, assigning those to a variety of different tracks until eventually you come down to a master bus or master track that has just a left and right channel. And that becomes your final mix. Every piece of music that you listen to on the radio or whatever is basically has been mixed in a fashion very similar to this, using busing, subgroups, and eventually coming up with a final mix. And each track being able to use inserts and sends and a variety of other effects to create the sound that you're looking for or the mix that you're looking for.